He also worked towards obtaining PhD degree from Anna University with his action research on competency management. He has done MA degree in yoga for human excellence from Bharatiyar University, along with his wife, and both of them are serving as assistant professors to teach Manava Kalvi Yoga. Recently, he is certified by International Project Management Association to its highest level possible, that's A certification as project director. Congratulations, sir. As the founder director of TVS Institute for Quality and Leadership, he has established holistic model for development of talent through career life cycle with focus on functional and professional skills, cultural capabilities, collective capabilities, and learning skills. TVS Institute for Quality and Leadership is certified to the Global Council of Corporate Universities. That's a bigger organization. He has established a diploma program in agripreneurship. You all know about entrepreneurship, agripreneurship at Vanavaraya Institute for Agriculture, and is now setting up skills training for farm assistant, and I hope you'll talk about that, with low-cost mechanization. He is passionate towards promoting academic excellence by playing key roles in several academic bodies. Governing council is the topmost body for any institution. They frame the policies and ensure that the institution is functioning as per policies. The council has eminent personalities. And academic council, it's at the institution level where the curriculum, primarily curriculum, the syllabus is framed. So he has been a member of governing councils and academic councils of educational institutions, including our parent college or organization. I'm a student of PhD Tech, including PhD College of Technology. Executive Committee and General Council membership of National Board of Accreditation. National Board of Accreditation is, there is a body at the central level, central government level, coming under, earlier it was called Ministry of Human Resource and Development. Recently, it got renamed as Ministry of Education. This board has experts who would visit colleges and find out whether the processes and methods followed are good and the students are taken care of well. And as an additional information, we are applying for NBA accreditation in about a month or so, because you need to have at least 3 batches of students graduate before you apply, and our 3rd batch of students graduated recently, and that's why we are applying almost immediately after they graduated. He has also been a member of advisory board of US-based startup for digital learning. He has been a mentor and performance auditor of MHRD, Ministry of Human Resource and Development, but now it's renamed as Ministry of Education, Technical Education Quality Improvement Program. The central government, about 10 years ago, they wanted to improve the quality of education, particularly in engineering institutions all over the country. And the central government allotted funds for improvement of infrastructure. So that program is called TechYo. And he has been a mentor for implementing holistic outcome-based education and product-based curriculum. Outcome-based education, you would come across that more frequently, because as students, once you graduate, you should be able to demonstrate your knowledge. That's called outcome. He has been honored with following awards: 100 Most Talented Global HR Leaders by Chief Human Resource Officer Asia, CHRO. It's an organization at World HRD Congress. Distinguished Alumni Award by PhD and Sons Charities, our parent topmost body, PhD Charities. And he has been honored with Excellence in Industry Academia Interface by SEED, a non-governmental organization. We call it NGO, isn't it? An Outstanding Contribution Award he has received for growth of quality circles. And the list is long. I'll stop here. Thank you very much, sir. Thanks for accepting our invitation and address our students. I hope the students make the most out of this opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Professor Mohan Ram, Professor Chandra Mohan, Professor Vasu, and Professor Kanchana, and the entire team of faculty members from PSG iTech, and my dear young friends. Good morning to all of you. And it gives me great pleasure to be part of this program, the induction program, which is very well organized. And you are all very fortunate to be part of this induction program, which prepares you to get the best out of the institute when you are going to be here. So today I am going to share my thoughts on youth from being a consumer to a contributor. I've been talking about this topic in the last 1.5 years in many institutions. So I've been evolving this ideas over a period of time. Every time I keep adding something. So first of all, my hearty congratulations on opting for and getting selected to PSG iTech. You are very, very fortunate to get selected. So one, no, it is part of the reputed organization which has been in existence for a very long time. And there's a new campus where, well, it is very well the conceived and architectured and built, and it is also well maintained. And you have a very able leadership. Professor Mohan Ram, I know him for more than 20-25 years, and he is a very passionate person wanting to do something unique. So, and he has got a very able team of faculty members and the other faculty. So you are very, very fortunate. You are very fortunate to be part of this. Can you hear me?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Yeah. So I have few introductory points. Request a few of you to switch on your video so that now we can see you. And I'll share my thoughts for about 35-40 minutes, and we'll devote about 20 minutes for interaction with you. I have a lot of concepts and ideas to enable you to become a great contributors. So please listen carefully, take notes, and prepare your questions if you have any. And at the end, you can unmute and speak, or you can post your questions on the chat box. And Mr. Vasu can help me to go through the questions, and I will be able to answer. And interaction is useful to contextualize my ideas to your environment. I think don't miss this opportunity. Okay. So I think you have been in the LKG onwards, no? You have spent almost 12 plus 2 years, right? So right from, if you count even the other 2 years, it is 14 plus 2 years. You have been a kid, and then you went to the LKG or UKG, or some people would have gone to the first standard straight. And you have spent so many years consuming a lot of things from the parents in terms of their love and their time, their money, and whatever resources in the society. So you used all the society and consumed all of that. You have grown. Now you are going to spend next 4 years in the institution, PSG iTech. And these are 4 golden years to make yourself being a great contributors. Okay. So now we have to see, when you pass out of PSG iTech, how you can become a contributor and contribute not only to yourself and also to your families, your institutions, society, and also your company to which you are going to work. And what is the starting point of being a contributor? So you must have read or heard about Dr. Abdul Kalam, who has been is a great scientist and our president, past president. And he said, no, dream, dream, dream. Dreams transform into thoughts, and thoughts result into action. So if you want to be a contributor, then you must have a dream to be a contributor. Then your thoughts will be there about how do I become a contributor. Then your thoughts will become an action in terms of how do I equip myself in the next 4 years to equip myself to be a contributor. I think you must have a dream or a goal. I think if you look at now in reality, who influence your dreams? I think many times parents' aspiration is cast on the students. I think many times now, whatever the parents could not accomplish in their life, they want to realize it through their children. So their aspiration is cast on you. And also peer influence. Many times now, you depend on what your best friend do, then you follow them. Then looking at your aptitude and then doing something which is right for you. So if you take any human being in the world, you are very unique. There is no other person exactly like you. So you are very unique. So you must understand your aptitude and you must choose to do your dream, your own dream. So you may always share your dreams with your parents, consult and all that. But the decision to set your dream should be yours, not your friends, not your parents. I think you must have that independence in understanding your strength and articulating your own dream for you. Other one, what is happening is both parents and teachers, they think that if I get into a good school, that good school will send me to a good college. I think all of you must have gone to a good school and score a good mark, which has brought you into PSG iTech, right? And once you get into a good college, they get good placement for you, okay? Then you go to a company and company will take care of you. So we don't have to do anything. So it is, we are delegating our dreams to the school. So first our only dream is to get into a good school. Then school will take care of it. College will take care of it. Then companies will take care of it. We don't have to do so much. I think that's a general attitude I have seen people demonstrating. I think I am highlighting this to you because you need to be unique. You have to really look at every stage you must do something that you have to do. So you can't delegate your dreams. Second, when people get into a job, what do they aspire? What are their dreams? So most of the dreams are very stereotypic. That is everybody having very similar goals. Everybody wants to buy a house and a car with minimal or no down payment at all. And they want to get married, produce children. Do you think we came to this world only to do these things, get into a job, earn money, buy a house, buy a car, get married, produce children? Is that the way, goal of our life? I think every human being have got much more potential to realize than doing only this. I think many people pursue only this as a thing. And then they live in the future income with high EMI and low down payment. If there is a shock like the coronavirus hitting the whole world, many people are going to lose their job. When they lose their job, what will happen to their EMI and down payment, their bought car, house and things like that? I think they are going to be suffering a lot. I think already many people have started suffering this. So many times in the past now we used to save money, then buy a house, then buy this one. Even I had about almost 1/3 or even more money for buying my house or a car. So I think this one concept I like to introduce to you. I think this is called Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I think human beings, they start with physiological needs. I think all of us, we need to eat, right? We feel hunger and we must have enough food to eat. And we must have clothes to wear. These are all called basic needs or physiological needs. Once that is fulfilled, next thing comes safety needs. How long we can have this food? Will I have food next year, next month? So if my job is not there, then what do I do? That's where the concept of saving comes. So we need to make sure we have enough saving, even if there is some shock of losing job or any other health problem or something we must have. That's where even insurance is a form of safety need. So once the physiological needs are met, then people start thinking about the safety needs. Then once we get these two needs fulfilled, people look at social needs. I've become a manager in a company. I've become the student union secretary or president. So I've become a Lions Club president. So like that, now in the social life also, we may achieve certain position in the company or in the society. That's about now people want to achieve certain social recognition. that is called social needs. Once that is fulfilled, the self-esteem needs comes in. So I've accomplished so much. So I've got so much of capability to achieve more. So having that sense of fulfillment in whatever we have achieved, that is called self-esteem needs. Then last one is self-actualization, where we don't have any needs. We have achieved something so much more in this society. Can I give back to the society without expecting anything from anybody? So it's not always now we look for salary, we look for recognition, we look for something. Once we reach self-actualization, we don't look for anything, we don't expect anything, but we give only give. It becomes a full contributor, not expecting something in return. So if you want to climb up this ladder, this is called ladder. And if you want to climb this ladder, you must understand how much is enough. We can't eat. Suppose if we have stomach full, even if there is enough food, tasty food, we can't eat more. Same way, if you lie on the bed, even 10 houses are there, you can sleep only in one room, in one cot, right? So there is no limit for the desires. Needs are limited, where wants can be, wish can be, many things. So we need to have a contentment at some point in time to for ourselves, but have aspire for other people. So many people get stuck in the lower levels. That's where the stereotypic goals are being pursued. So how many climb this ladder is very, very limited. So I wish all of you understand this from now on. You start thinking about how do you climb up this ladder. Now, if we take India, our population is 137 crores. So if you say this is a most populous country next to China, we may even overtake China in the near future. Whether this population is an asset for India or a liability for India. If all this 137, majority of them are consumers only, then it's a liability for the country. Only if they become contributors, then they become assets for the country. So if you look at now how many people are gainfully employed or employable skills they have, how many people seek opportunities. One side there is shortage of labor, shortage of skilled people. Other side there is enough population. So we need to bridge this. And the youth as a country, as India is one of the country where youth population is very, very high. That's where India is called as demographic, youth as a demographic dividend. So I always look at no dividend for whom. So many multinational companies considering Indian youth as a consumer. So even in the village, if you go, there are people who have studied up to 12th standard, but they didn't go for higher studies, but they are living in the parents' income. They buy bike, they buy mobiles, and then they go around the streets and they don't do anything. How long they can live like this? If they live like this for 5-10 years, they'll become a liability for themselves and to the families. So this is happening. I think this is a very dangerous sign. So we have to see, they don't want to do menial work. So in the West now, there is no dignity of labor is not there. Anybody is willing to, they can be proudly saying, I'm a plumber, I'm an electrician. Whereas here now, everybody wants to be a white collar. There are only certain number of white collar jobs. There are other jobs in which people can always get placed. So what makes youth as a contributor? So first is high quality education. So we need to have a strong foundation through our education. And that education should lead to an employable skills. Then we need to shape a career. I think there is a difference between a job and a career. Job is at the end of your studies, you get a placement, you get into a job. But will you continue in the same job for your life? So you want to grow, you join as an engineer, then you become a senior engineer, then you may become an assistant manager, then you become a manager, then you become a general manager, then vice president, president, CEO. Like that, there is a ladder again in the organization. So same way, if you join teaching, you become a lecturer and then an assistant professor, then you may become a HOD, you can become a principal, dean, or several positions. Every organization has got this kind of a pyramid. But everybody cannot go to the top. If you look at the pyramid, the number of people in the bottom, the top now only one CEO, one principal will be there for one institution. So only one person can become like that. No, if you take HODs, only about 8 or 10 can become HODs or vice presidents. So the jobs are limited as you grow. only the fittest will be able to reach to the top. So if you don't prepare yourself, if you don't enhance and unleash your potential to contribute, you can't build a career. You will only be a job keeper, not a career mover. So you need to really move through a career. I think you must start dreaming for that. Let me explain you what is potential. All of you studied potential energy in your physics, right? So energy possessed by a body by virtue of its position is called potential energy. A common example is a water tank. And you all know the formula for potential energy, mgh, mass into gravity into height. And if there is a potential and we need to convert the potential energy into kinetic energy, then only it will be useful to us. There is no point in keeping the potential, fill the tank and then keep it as it is. You have to connect through a tap and then we have to use it. Same a dam. We must have turbine and use it to produce electricity, or let it in the canal to irrigate the fields. So we need to convert the potential energy into kinetic energy. Same way, people also have potential. So like we have seen the MGH. Here also there are three aspects. One is called aspiration, which is about dreaming, right? Second is, if you have aspiration, if you are not engaged, you cannot realize the goal or dream. Same way, if you have aspiration or dream, and if you don't have ability, then also you cannot realize the aspiration. So if you are able to, and again, ability has got two factors. One is called learned skills. This is called tip of the iceberg. So this sketch you can see, the tip is about knowledge and skills. Okay. The beneath, what is invisible, is called innate ability in terms of our attitude, self-concept, traits, motive. These are all beneath, which is not visible. This part of our personality. Every human being has certain characteristics of innate ability, which we don't understand. That's what also called as aptitude. Unless otherwise we understand our innate ability. And one example I can give for innate ability is, if you want to become a successful person in a marathon, what you need is stamina. Whereas now, if you want to win in 100-meter dash, what you need is speed or sprint. Same way, the Sachin started with bowling, it didn't work for him, then became a batsman, then he broke all the records in the world. Then you take Ilayaraja, he is good in composing music, but not in singing. He sings, but the voice is not as good as SPB or Yesudas. So we need to understand what is innate with us and then align our aspiration, align it to the innate ability and engage to learn the skills. Then we can actually align this. So the intersection of these three is the potential. Okay. So how do you increase the area of the intersection? You have to align, get all the circles, make every circle as big as possible and align it with each other. Then your area of potential can be increased. You can increase your potential. So in the case of water tank, if you want to increase potential, either you increase the volume or the height, right? Same way here, you can increase, dream big, right? Then act big, then acquire your abilities. I think that's what you need to do. And you would have heard about the man on the moon. The Kennedy spoke in one of the public functions that America should put man on the moon. Then that was taken as the vision or goal or aspiration. Then they built NASA, and NASA started launching many missions. Each Apollo is a mission. So 11th mission went to the moon. That it's not about not taking a man to moon, but they have to come back and land safely and return to Earth. That is very important. So they took 11 missions to prove that a man can be taken to moon and he can go from the rocket to the moon and then come back and attach with the rocket. They can come back to Earth and they can actually safely land here. I think that's what is important. So it took almost 11 missions. So we can set a goal or dream, then divide that into several missions, right? So mission vision or aspiration as long-term goals, and mission or milestones are short-term goals. So to check whether we are on the right path towards our long-term goal. So innate ability, as I told you, it is about stamina or sprint. So one of the tests which I would suggest to all of you is to look at now, if you want to understand what is your innate ability, what comes to us naturally. Even when you have studied through your school, you will know certain subjects comes to you very naturally. You don't have to make a lot of efforts. And you
Yes, unmute, sir. Yes, sir, can you unmute, sir, please?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, now we can hear you. Thank you.
So you can do this test for you to understand the innate abilities of yours. So aligning aspiration to innate ability is important. Other one is what is needed to learn. I think this is a very, very scientific research done by one of the professor from the Harvard. And I happened to attend her master class in Singapore. I think learning is about your attention and memory. So how attentive are you to listen to your class or read your book? The attention ensures that you are able to grasp as much information as possible through your listening or attention or by reading. Then whatever you read or listen, that gets into memory. Memory has got two memories. One is short-term memory, other one is long-term memory. Normally, short-term memory is like RAM and long-term memory is like hard disk. When you pay attention and listen and grasp something, that is stored in the short-term memory. You know, when the short-term memory, the information is moved from short-term memory to long-term memory only in your sleep. During your sleep, your information from short-term memory is transferred to the long-term memory. You know what dream does? So for when we learn about new information about a subject, we already have certain stored information in our brain about the same subject. The brain cannot store multiple information about the same subject. What it does is whatever new information is processed with the old information and combined, and then it is stored as one information. That happens during our dream, or what is called in the early morning, or REM sleep, rapid eye movement sleep, REM sleep. During that time only, the synthesis of old information and new information happens in our brain. And we need certain basic enabling factors to learn well. The exercises are very important. So many people, you have forgotten after your 10th standard, 9th standard onwards, you have stopped all your games, sports and everything. So physical every day you have to do some kind of a physical. It could be yoga, it could be running, it could be walking. Some physical exercise is needed. Okay. Then you must also have good nutrition. You must have all the nutrients available to you through your food. You must take enough vegetables, fruits, and the carbohydrate. Then you must also have a good quality sleep. All these are very important. I think please don't ignore. If you want to learn and become a contributor, you must learn what it takes to learn. You have to be very regular in all this. I think all of you, we have gone through 14 years and 4 years you are going to study now. How much of money, time and effort spent? How much of what you learned in last 14 years you think you used in your life? Can you guess a number? You can put it in the chat box.
6 years, sir.
Pardon?
6 years, around 6 years is very important for our life experience.
No, what percentage of what we have learned in 14 years we use in our life? In many occasions, I get an answer, it is in single digit, less than 10%. Okay. Somebody said 25%. I think it is about 10%. Okay. So now let me share with you.
So one of the students has said rightly, sir, Aravind
1%.
Krishna, he has said
1%.
less than 1%, and has said 1%.
Yeah, a contributor cannot have 1% of what they've learned they use. Now let me give you a certain idea about now Professor Mohan Ram and Chandra Mohan's talked about now outcome-based learning. Outcome-based learning is based on the domains of learning. There are 3 domains of learning. First is called cognitive domain. Second is called affective domain. Third is called psychomotor domain. So cognitive domain is we acquire certain intellectual abilities by thought processes. So through our thinking process, we develop certain intellectual abilities. That is called. So the concept of potential energy is about now we give a concept of a tank and then we say height, mass, height and the gravity. So like that now we give certain concepts and we think about it and we understand the concept and use it. That involves 6 stages. Remember, understand, apply, analyze, evaluate, and create. If you see the school education, what you all gone through, it is called rote learning. That is, you memorize something and you reproduce in the exam. That is only at a remember level. Whereas engineers are supposed to create. They have to go through, understand, apply, analyze, evaluate, and create. Now, 14 years you have been through remember level, and suddenly engineering college in 4 years they have to take you to the create level. It's not easy at all unless you also reorient yourself and take ownership for your learning, and you work with your faculty to move from remember level to create level. I think this is a very, very difficult phase that you have to go through. And all of you, many of you said no. So what we learned, we only use 1% or 5% or 6%, whatever it is. It is because we have not focused on affective domain. Affective domain is about the attitudes that motivate using the intellectual abilities. Whatever intellectual abilities we have acquired over time, only if we have the attitude to use it, that is becoming an affective domain. That has got several stages: receive, respond, value, organize, characterize. So you all taught about universal human values. You listened, you received it, and you should respond it. Okay, universal human values seems to be very important to me, and you start valuing it. Then you start organizing. So I have to treat other human beings with value, with respect. So I should not insult anybody. I should not harm anybody. So you organize yourself. Then after some time, it will become characterized. It will become part of you, your character. That is called characterization. So your education also should go through not only cognitive domain, but also the affective domain. But without a strong cognitive domain, we can't have affective domain. So starting with the cognitive domain and creating the attitude to use those intellectual skills is very, very important. When you learn engineering, engineering is not learned only in your job. It can be used in your home. I have so many projects in my home, even today. Even during lockdown period, I've installed the automatic robotic cleaning of my home, the mopping of the home, all our mobile app is there. I can program and schedule and things like that. So the engineering, what you learn is not only for your job, it is for your life. Then you more effective. And third concept is called psychomotor. Psycho is mind and the body. So when we require all the skills like driving or swimming is about psychomotor skill, or even doing any factory jobs, they're all psychomotor. That involves imitate, manipulate, precision, and articulate. So expertise in chosen domain. That is very, very important. So higher order skills to contribute. You came from a very weak foundation from the school, and you all had question bank and answer keys, and you focused on remember, and maybe few schools focused on understand. Now you have to see how to migrate to apply, analyze, evaluate, create. And you need active learning, not passive learning. Passive learning is you are just sitting quietly without interaction. We don't know whether you are listening or not. Okay, so you need to be active in your classroom, and you must have motivation to spend extended hours in the lab and projects to learn and apply. You can't restrict yourself only to classroom hours. You have to go to library, you have to go to lab, you have to do projects, not necessarily to only the hours that are allocated. So you can take some hobby projects also and then work on it. So other one is many times the employable skills, whatever the employers are expecting from you, we are not having, not only in the engineering or the cognitive domain, but also on the what is called professional skills. I like to give few examples of professional skills. One starting point is wellness. So WHO defines wellness as physical, mental, and social well-being, and does not mean absence of illness. That's what they call it as wellness. So you need to understand what is physical, mental, social level well-being, and how you can make your daily workouts and your diet, your sleep, everything you must focus on to develop wellness on these three dimensions. In the colleges I work with, we even develop dimensions to measure physical, mental, and social well-being. Next is communication. Many people have ideas, but they don't know how to communicate, or they don't have the confidence to communicate. So communication involves listen, speak, read, and write. And they should be able to articulate with all these skills. Whether spoken or written form, you must be very familiar with articulating your ideas. So you need to develop these skills. Even English language or any language learning requires listening, speaking, reading, and writing. All the four skills are important. Then personal effectiveness. If you want to achieve, because professor said, time is also a resource. Time is limited. If you want to make use of your limited time for doing co-curricular, extracurricular hobbies and things like that, you must know how to manage your time, how to plan your activities, how to manage time. Achieving more with less, that is very important. That's all about personal effectiveness. Other one is, no, we can't achieve anything in this world by ourselves. We have to work with other people. Even in the college, you have to get into team projects. You have to, when you go to company, there's so much of interdependency. I'll explain some of the concepts a little bit later. So you need to work with others, and you need to work in teams. Then you have to develop interpersonal and team working skills. So these things cannot be developed only through an orientation program or only through certain classroom program. You must participate in co-curricular, extracurricular, and hobbies in the college and post starting your professional career. I think many of you, before your 9th standard, you would have gone to chess class, you would have gone to music class, swimming class. So 9, 10, 11, 12, 4 years, you have stopped everything. எல்லாத்தையும் மூட்டை கட்டி வச்சிட்டீங்க. திரும்ப மூட்டையெல்லாம் அவுத்து திரும்ப அதெல்லாம் நீங்க வந்து practice பண்ணணும். So there is so much of PSG is known for extracurricular activity. I've come from a village. I have become like this only because there is a 5 years in PSG made a big difference to me. I was into every extracurricular and co-curricular activities. So you have a great opportunity in PSG especially. So don't miss these opportunities. Now we are living in a very disruptive VUCA world. So VUCA is volatility. It is a quick and unexpected changes. Uncertainty, difficult to forecast future outcome. Complexity, it is very interconnected variables for simple analysis. Ambiguity, causal relations are not unclear. Now, till the corona, not many people understood what it is. The post-corona, this is true, volatile. Now today, look at the markets. We don't know how they will behave at all. Unexpected changes are happening. Same uncertainty. We don't know when the COVID will come to an end. Which vaccine will work, which will not work, we don't know. And complexity, what started in China, it went to the whole world. So it is a connected world. So it is a complex world. And also the coronavirus is mutation is happening. The strains are different in different, even within the country, there are different strains, it seems. So it becomes a very complex situation to handle. And we don't know what is the cause, what is the effect, which medicine works. So people are doing trial and error in the whole thing. So we are in this world. Second, we are also in a transdisciplinary space. So today now people are talking about big data, robotics, additive manufacturing, autonomous vehicles, artificial intelligence, drones, virtual and augmented reality. And everything is going to become smart. Smartphone, smart home, smart washing machine, refrigerator. You look at now smart cities, smart factories, everything is going to become smart. So by making everything else smart, we can't become dumb, right? So we need to be very, very careful about now how we are going to change our skill sets to create a space for us. And in the past now, there used to be mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, electronics engineering, that is called disciplinary. Now today, then people started talking about how do we connect these two, multidisciplinary. Then there is an overlap between the domains that is called interdisciplinary. Today, it is translated. You take your mobile, that is which engineering, mechanical engineering or electrical engineering or electronics engineering, communication engineering, chemical engineering. So you name any engineering you have in our mobile, smartphones. So it is transdisciplinary. Now in future, all this is going to make everything transdisciplinary. Even though you joined mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, I suggest no, your roommate should be another, not the same branch. I hope the college also allocates people are mixed with the branch. That's what we have done when we were studying. So then you start knowing about the other domains. Same way, you can also take electives in the other domain. There is a choice-based credit system and things like that. I think once your college has that opportunity, so you'll be able to do that. So it is going to be transdisciplinary. Okay. So we should not become dumb. We should remain future ready. Okay. Now today current situation is we are not even present ready. We need to become future ready. So what is future ready? I went to National University of Singapore and we had our meeting in the Center for Future Ready Graduates. I met the director of that center. I asked her, what do you mean by future ready graduates? So they have a center and they have a program to make their graduates as future ready. Then they published a report on future ready skills. So I've taken this ideas from that research report. So first thing they are looking at for future ready is curiosity. So we must always be curious to learn. Seek new experiences outside current skill set. Can you do a project if you are a mechanical engineering, can you do a project in mechatronics? Then you should be willing to take that kind of an opportunity. And you must change. Change is going to be constant in the world. You must embrace change with enthusiasm, not hate change, but you must love change. Okay. Engagement with the empathy. Empathy is about putting ourselves in the other's shoes. So when somebody is suffering, can we experience now what it takes if that happens to me, how I would suffer? Can we understand it? Connecting the hearts and minds towards shared objectives. So we are going to be working in teams. Shared objectives are important and contribute to the team without any expectations in return. That is very important. Insight, be self-aware. So self-awareness, understanding our strength and weaknesses, very important. Think strategically, deal with complexity. Complexity involves system thinking, connecting the dots to create clarity for others. I think in your later years, you may have certain subjects that is talking about system thinking. Even otherwise, you can, today no, there is no limit for resources. You can always talk, you can Google even today and understand what is system thinking. Okay. Last is determination. Have clarity on short-term and long-term goals that provide energy. Your goals should provide energy. That's what Dr. Abdul Kalam said, dream, dream. Dream should inspire you. And have a fortitude to fight. Whenever you work for a goal, Not always you will win. Sometimes you may fail also. Can you bounce back from setback? When you fail, you don't lose heart, lose your confidence, but you bounce back from your setback or failure. Do things that will help recharge your time outside work. I think when I talk to young engineers coming from the colleges, how many of you have hobbies? Everyone will raise their hand. Then I ask them, I will qualify what is a hobby. On a daily or a weekly basis, if you don't spend significant amount of your time, that is not a hobby. Now you tell me how many people raise the hand. If somebody says trekking is your hobby, when did you trek last? Every week or every month do you go for trekking? I think that's important. So we have to do things outside work that is going to recharge you, that is going to energize you. So hobbies are very, very important. Each one of you should develop some hobby. On a daily and weekly basis, you must spend enough time. And the rate of change is rising exponentially. Expiry date for the skills are getting shorter. So what you learned when you get into a job, within 5 years, your skill set will become redundant. Now, if you look at coding, it is going to be done with the tools. Okay. So it's not going to be done. Now, artificial intelligence and virtual reality is going to make big difference to the skill sets. So people have to really move, otherwise they will lose their job. So the expiry date is becoming shorter. So you need to remain relevant for now and in future. Need to run to remain where you are. There is a treadmill. In treadmill now you'll be walking at 6 kilometers or 8 kilometers per hour, but you'll be in the same place. So you need to run to remain where you are. Engage in continuous learning. Move up the value chain. You see, today bachelor's degree has got no value at all. When I passed out, only 1,700 seats were there in Tamil Nadu. Today, more than 1 lakh seats are there. So there is no respect for undergraduation. You must always aspire. Some people can do it immediately after your studies, bachelor. Some people can go or work for a few years and go for MBA or masters. But whenever you go work for a few years and then go for higher studies, it is always helpful. But you must be prepared for a competitive exam. If you want to go to the best university, then you must do enough homework, which university you want to go to. Apart from US and Europe, now even countries like Japan is now open to invite Indian students. You can also look at many opportunities. You must keep on doing. I completed my PhD 6 years back. I did my MA about 4 years back. So like that, no, there is no end for learning, the end for research. I'm continuing to research. I'm continuing to publish papers. There is no end at all. To sum up, align your aspiration, engagement, and ability to maximize your potential. And maximum score, I think you are going to play 8 semester over match, cricket, like a cricket match. You're going to play for 8 semester. Each semester is like 1 over. Even if you miss 1 over, you can't win in the match. So don't lose. I think many times, no, people think I've studied hard for 10th standard, 11th standard, 12th standard. Let me take rest for a semester or 2. By then you will have enough arrears. Even in colleges like PSG, people get arrears because they take it very lightly. Even IITs, people get arrears. That is because 1 or 2 overs they miss. Then it is difficult to make up the run rate at a later stage. So prepare for a career, not for a job. You must have a resume. Can you prepare your resume today? For 4 years from now, when you want to present yourself to the employer, what kind of resume you want to present? Okay, does it include enough of co-curricular, not only your curricular accomplishments, even co-curricular, extracurricular, hobbies, all that? No, you can fill it up. And then see how to realize that every semester. So resume is like your end of the game, what kind of runs you want to take. Then you have to do something to realize your resume. You can also prepare a resume for 10 years from now, what you will be. You may do a master's, you may do a job in the company, then like that, no, you can write your 10 years goal. and balance your curricular, co-curricular, extracurricular activities. Remain future ready and remain relevant. Okay. With this, I want to end with this quote from Dr. Abdul Kalam. Dream is not which you see while sleeping. It is something which does not let you sleep. So a good dream should be sounding in you all the time. It should be in your dream. So you must, that will not let you sleep. You will be restless too. So it should not become a stress. It should be a very positive stress that makes you accomplish more. I'm sure all of you will become the great contributor. Best wishes to become a great contributor and serve yourself, your families, your society, and our country. India should be one of the developed nation as dreamt by Dr. Abdul Kalam. Be blessed by the divine. Thank you so much. Now I'll be happy to take on questions.
Good, sir. That was wonderful. And we are looking forward to our students questioning the speaker, asking for clarifications and some more inputs. Welcome.
A few of you want to unmute. You can also raise your hand. We can unmute and speak.
Somebody wants to speak, please request. We will definitely unmute and then you can directly converse with the speaker.
So thanks a lot, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Wonderful.
And,
Prepared very well.
Yes, sir. Yes, President Chandramohan.
Every time we see your PPT, we feel that these are all the slides that we are looking forward to. So more relevant, so comprehensive, well documented. I'm sure our friends also will be catching up with this kind of PowerPoint preparation whenever they start preparing for some of their conferences and other presentations.
In our institute, all the training program also will be like this only.
Oh, very good, very good, sir, very good.
Yeah. I think there is a question from someone. Agripreneurship. See, if you take many sectors have got evolved. You take automotive sector of India, it is comparable to the best in the world. You take airports, best in the world, airlines, best in the world, telecom, financial services, hospitals. But one sector which has not evolved is agriculture. Because all other sector, people get qualified and go and do agriculture. Whereas now, whoever is doing BSc agriculture or BA agriculture, they go to the government job or bank job, not become an agripreneur. So entrepreneur in agriculture is called agripreneurship. So we want to take youth from rural areas with the 12th standard qualification and then give them a diploma in agripreneurship. We have developed, last 3 years, I have developed the curriculum for this diploma program and started piloting this in Vanavarayar Institute of Agriculture in Pollachi. And L&T, part of their CSR, they have sponsored these students. Now TVS has a farm in Tirunelveli. We are going to set up one polytechnic for agriculture. Not only develop agripreneurship, even agri-labor also we want to do the skilling. I think that's what is about agripreneurship.
Sir, I have a doubt, sir.
Yes.
Sir, will you please briefly explain that youth as a demographic dividend?
Youth as?
A demographic dividend.
Demographic dividend, yeah. Demography is about the age group. The 18 to 35, that is the demographic. That age group, India is one of the largest country, right? So we have maximum number of youth in the country. Okay, so they are called dividends, demographic dividends, because the age, at that age, they can study well, earn well, and contribute well, by which the economy can be improved. So it's a dividend for the whole country. But only when they are made employable and employment opportunities also available, then they can actually become a dividend. So one side we have to increase the employment opportunity, otherwise we should also do the skilling of the people, employable skills. then they can become a dividend. Otherwise, they will become a liability. Dividend for whom? That's what I have asked. Dividend not for the multinational companies, dividend for the families. One person, one generation comes out and then become a graduate and they have a good career. Their whole family, their future generation can be well off. I came from a village. I was the first graduate, first engineer from my family. And my sons, my cousin, my brothers, children, everybody are engineers. They're all doing well. Okay, that can make a big difference. And how was it for you, or how did you cope with from your school? Remember stage to the stage where you are create. Yeah, I think that's a very good question. I came from a village school. Okay, so when I went to the pre-university, that time there was no higher secondary, it was pre-university. I went to a college called Sacred Arts College. In that college, they have done a bridge course for 2 weeks. People coming from school, how they can get into a college. So that 2 weeks was very, very useful to move from just remember to understand. And then even whatever teaching was done, the experiments, the lab exercises were done. That was very good. Same way when I came to PSG Tech. PSG Tech has got one advantage with PSG Tech, the main campus. Now even your campus has got that advantage. And it is an industrial institute inside the campus. So when I was studying, the industrial institute produced motors, pumps, lathes, and other machine tools. And being production engineering, every Thursday from 4th year and 5th year, 2 years, we were working in the industry. What we learned, we were able to see how it gets applied in the industry, in PSG itself. So we also did, even though normally people do only final year project, we did a project in 3rd year, we did project in 4th year, we did a project in 5th year, and we went for many industrial industry visits, which we used to organize ourselves. So all this helped us to relate to industry, and we were able to listen to industry, we were able to connect with the industry. So that has really helped us to do. I suggest now all of you should make a lot of efforts, whatever concepts you have not understood. You can always go to the respective professors. Some bridge course also can be offered in the college. You can also go and ask for the help. And some students may be having better understanding. Then you can also discuss and learn. There are many ways you can do that. Okay. How can youth contribute towards boosting our Indian economy? I think one of the things, if you come out of the college with employable skills and you contribute well in the industry can do well if many Indian companies become more profitable and they invest on technology, they invest on facilities, they invest on people, then that will grow the company. And then when the Indian companies are able to do well, for example, our company, by investing in human resources, last 5 years, we are #1 in quality. Now, not only in India, we are exporting to 50 countries. Okay. Now we are also partnered with the BMW for bikes below 500cc. All these bikes are produced with equivalent to German quality. Now the BMW people are saying the quality produced at Hosur is comparable to Berlin quality. So now BMW, all their below 500cc, including electric bikes, will be produced by TVS. Same way, globally, Indian two-wheeler industry is dominating even Chinese. The only industry where Chinese is not competing is the automotive industry. You can't see Chinese two-wheelers. That is because the Indian companies here has made such a good quality, Chinese are not able to make that quality. So if we have good engineers, where the company can do well and they can increase their market share, they can increase their size, then they can employ more people will earn and they will spend money, then the economy will boom. I think all of you should equip yourself to be a great contributor in the next 8 semesters. Okay, next is in order to be future ready, apart from preparing for semesters, what are the activities? See, your projects should not be a stereotypic projects. you don't stop with whatever textbook, because many times curriculum is not future ready. So you have to go beyond your curriculum. So you have library. Now you don't have to limit to your book based library. You can read journal, online journal. I think the colleges like PSG also subscribe to the science directory and other directory of journals. You can always go through journals, understand what is happening around the world. Now today there are a lot of digital learning programs. You can take up some courses in Coursera and other the NPTEL. There are many options. I think during your orientation, your faculty can share many options. Today to learn, no, there is no, in my days, no, only library. We have to go for only books and journals. Today there are n number of opportunities. You have to keep your time, whatever you learn, you must go beyond your what you learn in the college, in the classes, and read about it, discuss about it, participate in the contest. There are many SAE. I think you must start a student chapter of Society of Automotive Engineers or IIIE and things like that. You must be active in conducting many events and then getting a lot of guest lectures and also doing some contests, participating in the contest, all that.
Dr.
Yeah.
Paul, there is a question from Sashank.
Yes.
That's a political question, I think. How to overcome the political crisis of our society, sir? Even if we achieve something, they won't let us to shine.
Yeah. So maybe no, in the world now we can we have enough reasons to complain if we see only those things. But there is enough space and opportunity to contribute. We can't change the whole world. So if you want a change of world to come, in fact, whatever I have listened to Saint Vedatri Maharishi, he started articulating about world's peace. Then where he is saying the world peace cannot buy automatically. First, we should work for the individual's peace. If we are peaceful in ourselves, and many people in the family becoming peaceful, their family become peaceful. The Kudumba Amaidi, Tani Manida Amaidi, Apram Kudumba Amaidi, Apram Samudaya Amaidi, Apram or not today Amaidi, Apram Ulagatode Amaidi. It cannot come just like that. Okay, so it takes time, but we have enough space within which we can contribute. So you look positively, look for things that is happening positively, and even in the country, even in companies, even in the college, there may be negative things, there may be positive things. But if we focus on negative things, that will pull our energy level. If we focus on positive things, we can contribute. Everywhere there will be space for contributing positively. Okay. So focus on positive things, keep your positive outlook about the whole world. Don't look at now. If you look at news, you look at TV. Do you think everywhere the same thing is happening? What is projected in the TV today? Earlier, it was happening even 20, 30 years back, but there was no TV 24/7 TVs. Today, even small thing they want to magnify. They even create excitement about nothing. So don't go by the news, and you go by what you see around you, how you can influence and make a positive change to happen. Okay. So when and where can we get ourselves enrolled in agripreneurship? I think maybe in any of your relatives, I think when we start this course, any of your relative after 12th standard, they want to get into agripreneurship. In fact, even though we set it as 12th standard, we have people who have worked in the industry for 10 years and coming and doing this course. Maybe at some point you're having joined, you pursue this well, and then get into that, you can get into agripreneurship as well. Okay.
Hello, sir. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, please.
Sir, as you told, India's two-wheelers are of good quality, sir. But then in recent years, the automobile industry has is in a downfall, sir. Maybe the quality, if the quality would have been compromised, like a two-wheelers quality for the present years, we can use it for about 8 to 10 years. But if the quality is like compromised a little bit, like if you can use it for 5 years or something like that, like people will get more interested to buy, sir, because that will be their necessity. What do you think of that, sir?
You are meaning reduce the life?
Yeah, they reduce the life, and you can get the back two-wheelers also, no, sir, for some price amount so that people won't be able to
In
spend
fact,
more.
that's where the used two-wheeler industry is now booming. Now today, you take any used product, it is available, a good product, so we don't have to reduce the life. With the same life, when we recycle it through second-hand market, the company acquire and then refurbish it and then sell it at an affordable price with the warranty. Then the customers are also getting benefited. Now today, there are a lot of people don't have two-wheeler or a car. Today, the used two-wheelers or used cars are going to be available at a competitive price. I think that will help the entire society. We don't have to reduce the life or affect the quality. The same quality, we should not reduce the quality, but we should have a very good used vehicle market and promote it. I think that's happening in the country.
Sir, but then the production of new vehicles will decrease, no, sir.
No,
if
but
we do like
our country, the penetration level is still low. Lot of opportunities for people to buy. We have to improve the economic condition of the people to get a gainful employment. We have to skill them and then make them earn. That's where the demographic dividend comes only when we equip the people to earn more. Our role will be our economy as a country. We have to focus on creating enough jobs, creating employable skills, and then bring equity in the salaries. Not if you look at not top to bottom, the salary disparity is very high in India, like West, whereas in Japan it is the least. We have to reduce the salaries of senior people, and we have to increase the salary of all the plumbers, electrician, and all that. So we go and buy anything at a given cost, but whereas with the plumber, electrician, we bargain, right? So why not we give a good amount of remuneration for plumbers and electrician, right? Even when the roadside vendors are coming, கேரை விற்கிறவங்க கிட்ட நாம bargain பண்றோம். ஆனா பெரிய கடையில அவங்க சொல்ற வேலையை அவன் போட்டு வாங்கிட்டு வந்துடும்ல. நம்ம மைண்ட் செட்டும் கொஞ்சம் சேஞ்ச் ஆகணும். Okay?
Sir, there is one question, maybe that's the last question, sir.
Yeah.
One student has asked, as you have said, undergraduate degree is not enough for current competitive world. What do you suggest? Either a master's program in management or engineering? And
Yeah.
if either of these two, whether doing it here in India or abroad, and get into an industry of excellence. So
Yeah.
the question that's asked.
In fact, one of the thing you have to look at, you have to look at your own aptitude. So if you are having very strong engineering orientation, technology orientation, you can even continue the education soon after your undergraduation. And then there are enough opportunities available overseas, Europe or in US, or now Singapore University is also doing well. Japanese universities are attracting Indian students. Australia is another destination. So there are enough opportunities you can explore, because the kind of investment happens in education is very high in those countries. In India, if a PSG high-tech has to run only with your fees, they can't afford this infrastructure and the salary of people. In India, no, fees cannot be raised at all. So because of the fee being low, now people, the college is also not investing in facilities and building, because PSG is fortunate to the managed by the trust, so they are able to invest. Not many colleges, government colleges also not getting enough fund. So even IITs may not have enough facilities like Singapore. So the facilities are good, faculty are good, so you can always look at a thing to overseas. Next is even IIT, NITI, all that. So if you are good general management oriented, so your the leadership skills are good, your professional skills are good, you want to manage things, then you can do masters in management, MBA or something. But any MBA, you better to wait for 2-3 years, work in a company. In the US now, minimum 5 years experience is required to do MBA. They don't go immediately. In India, only people go immediately. Only when you have a good experience, MBA makes sense. If you want to do MBA better, you work in a good company for 4-5 years. This is my suggestion. Okay. Thank you so much.
Sir, thank you, sir. I think it was a very interesting session. I could see a number of questions coming up. Definitely, we will remain in touch with you. I think you had stressed upon very important aspects, how to maximize the student potential by the quality aspiration part of it, continued engagement part of it, and striving to excel by enhancing both the technical and behavioral competence. And the usual thing that we normally neglect is the innate abilities, which comes from attitude, understanding of self, and all. That is what is being addressed in the universal human values, and that's what our students are picking up. And you have covered the very important factors that enable learning, particularly where we relaxes, we don't take water, okay, and sometimes we neglect exercises and yoga, and the need for quality sleep also you have mentioned. These are all definitely key points which our friends should be able to remain in touch. And coming to the topic of domains of learning, well, we focus mostly on cognitive aspects, thinking aspects, but the importance of the affective domain, which comes from the attitudinal aspect, okay, which fuels the intellectual abilities that we have highlighted very importantly, and the psychomotor activities in which I am passionate about. I would like to keep doing things, enjoy doing that. That aspect also you have beautifully touched, and brought the relevance of lifelong learning, and the scenario being the VUCA world. What is it that we have to do? And you've given an action plan for our students that it's a 8-semester match, and that each one of us has to strive to score well, keep away from distractions, balance curricular, co-curricular, and extracurricular activities, and finally get future ready. And your thoughts on future readiness is also very important, starting from curiosity, okay, and remain alive to the changes in the world. Beautiful, sir. That was really interesting. And this lecture was a totally different one from what I have heard from you. So many other lectures I have heard. And this one is really an eye-opener for most of the people, particularly the student friends would have enjoyed. I would like to thank Dr. Kanchana too, because I could see a good number of students from PhD Institute of Advanced Studies participating, asking questions, and somebody has asked what is PhD IAS and all. So that will be a kind of a very good understanding between the high-tech students and the students from the PhD Institute of Advanced Studies also. And thanks for your valuable time, sir. I would like to place on record your excellent efforts. Wishing you that the book comes out well, and it can be even made a part of the curriculum, okay, so that people can read it, understand it, and apply it to their day-to-day life. Thank you, sir. It was wonderful.
Thank you, sir.
As usual.
Thank you for the opportunity, and I wish everyone all the very best for the 8-over match.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. On behalf of all PhD institutions, we extremely thank you for your excellent presentation, sir. And you covered all aspects in one slide as a human values. That is on the second slide. That's excellent, sir. And I shared with all of my students as well. Thank you very much, sir. And thank you, Mohan Ram, sir, and the PhD iTech faculty members for giving opportunity for our international credit transfer students to take part on that. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, madam. Thanks a lot. Thanks for joining. Thank you, sir. And thanks to all my student friends.